Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Geek Pop podcast for a very special E3 2017 post-show roundup. My name is the Discordia, and I am joined by...
Alright.
It's Josh.
Yeah, let's...
Joshtie, the other head editor.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the past few days, it has been E3.
It has, and...
That's a big deal.
It has been. E3's pretty big deal. Pretty big. Pretty cool. Pretty
Yeah.
annoying to cover.
Very, very, very annoying
You
to
would
cover.
know a lot about that, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I covered Bethesda at 4:30 in the morning.
Ah, yeah. Feels good. Feels good.
So, there have been a lot of big things at E3. The main things that at least I'm thinking of talking about here are EA, Sony, Xbox, Ubisoft, or Ubisoft if you're retarded, and Nintendo. Nintendo, the dark horse of the competition that nobody expected to be as cool as they were.
Yeah, I mean, that's just... Nintendo recently, like... I don't think they've been the best, but now they've sort of just come out and they're like, hey, we're still here, we're pretty good.
Yeah, they're making sort of, not really a massive comeback. It feels almost like a subtle sort of stepping back into spotlight after almost what feels like they were taking a break from being famous, I guess. Almost.
Yeah.
But yeah, their E3 thing was very cool.
It was. Except for Mario and Rabbids.
Except Mario and Rabbids,
We'll
or
get onto that.
Nintendo's Minions.
The minions of gaming that have been dead since 2009. Right.
Yes.
Anyway, we'll get
Right.
onto that. We'll get onto that.
Key things, I say we just go into the very broad question of which publisher would you say won E3 this year?
When I say one E3, I'd say there's strong points and weak points to every single one. Surprisingly, I did like the Microsoft.
That was...
Because they had the Battlefield 1 DLC, they had Star Wars Battlefronts, I think, at that same one.
that was EA.
No, that was EA, sorry.
Yeah.
I am surprisingly torn between Microsoft and EA. Like, I've never owned an Xbox past the original, and EA is just a meme for me, but... Yeah, the Star Wars Battlefront, really...
And also, A Way Out was EA conference too.
A Way Out, exactly. The Xbox One X, the Crew 2...
Yeah.
The Name of the Tsar... Some really cool stuff going on.
Yeah. And, yeah, I agree with that, and also the Xbox presentation, because they just went so big. Like, there was no point where it was like, should we go for subtlety here? No. Let's reveal 42 games in the space of an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Because why not?
Yeah, let's announce 40 plus games and a new console. Like...
Not like anyone's expecting much.
Yeah. You know, what did Bethesda give us? Some VR remakes of the same games?
And Skyrim 0.6.
Yep. Skyrim, the 19th re-release and port.
Yeah, I agree with that. Who would you say lost E3? Like, which one was just the biggest failure of the whole con?
I'm not sure. I mean, I didn't obviously cover everything, but I just didn't really notice any big things coming out of Bethesda, like I said.
Yeah.
I mean, let's take, for example, The Elder Scrolls. Of course, I wasn't... I'm not the biggest Elder Scrolls fan, and I wasn't expecting Elder Scrolls 6 to be released, but for yet another port of it onto the Switch, and yeah, of course, it's probably needed, because the Switch is a brand new thing coming out. I just don't...
And you need Skyrim on everything.
I just don't see the point in that big announcement, or maybe an announcement on The Elder Scrolls 6 would have been quite good.
Yeah, even if they just said they're developing it.
They could have just said, yeah, we're developing it, but you haven't even started yet. And how long do these games take to make? Like
5 years,
it
God.
could take, what, 3 years, and that's an
Yeah,
understatement.
yeah,
We're probably not going
definitely.
to see Elder Scrolls 6 till past 2020, which will be 9 years after Skyrim,
Mm,
and that's not going to be what the fans want.
no, but they did announce Wolfenstein, which
Wolfenstein,
look
yes.
which looked very cool.
Mhm.
8 minutes of trailer, and it looks. If I'm going to be honest, it just looks like a good Wolfenstein game, which
Yeah.
most of them are. Um, I'd say the biggest letdown for me was Ubisoft.
Yeah, that too. Ubisoft. I mean, I like The Crew 2, but what
Mm,
else did Ubisoft give us? Not much,
yeah,
to be honest.
like they wasted their announcement of Assassin. They had their big reveal of Assassin's Creed Origins, which they revealed a day earlier at the Xbox convention
Yeah.
conference, which felt like a waste.
Mhm.
And a big disappointment was there was no DLC announced for Ghost Recon Wildlands or Watch Dogs 2, which is a shame because I would expect, considering the first two DLCs for both games were pretty much nothing, I was hoping for at least one of those two games they'd announce a huge, big, exciting new DLC that would actually bring a player base back, and they just didn't. It
Mhm.
sucked.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel that was less of an issue of disappointing. Well, less of an issue of releasing anything bad as it is releasing nothing of note.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Um, yeah, so in a very broad sense, that's just sort of best and worst of show. But there were a lot of stuff in over the few days that were just completely unexpected, and especially from indie developers. Like I didn't realize there was that much of a focus going to be put on indie devs, and I really like that because geek pop indie is sort of a big thing. So it's nice to see that sort of representation.
Yeah. Very. Very true. That was good.
And yeah, and I think you mentioned that one of your favourite games the entire show, A Way Out, which I'm also a big fan of,
Mhm.
is was an indie developed game, and I like that.
Mhm.
Speaking of A Way Out, let's hear your thoughts.
Not only was Joseph just the best.
Joseph.
It was.
What?
It's great.
He did have a weird name, yeah.
I do like the idea of a way out, but at the same time, being co-op only,
Yeah,
needing two controllers to play it, not the best thing. Especially when
yeah,
controllers nowadays can cost like £65 or something like that.
yeah. And even though it does have online play, that still requires you to have that streaming from the player two's gameplay,
Hmm. Yeah,
which
exactly. That's not
is
easy.
going to be it's going to be so difficult to actually stream competently, even on really solid internet connection.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially with the fact it's 4K or whatever.
Hmm. But then again, just in general, it does look very cool. I am pretty
Yeah.
excited to see what's going to happen when it comes out. The story of
Mm.
it looks pretty good. There's open world aspects, there's stealth aspects, puzzle solving aspects.
Yeah.
It's going to be good.
Yeah. It looks very interesting, and I didn't realize this at the time, but it is actually a PS4, Xbox One, and Windows release. So
Yeah, I didn't notice that. 'Cause was it the EA? It was the EA one.
it was at the EA thing.
Yeah, and I didn't
It's
think there was going to be too
mm,
much variety in the platforms it was released on. Because of the nature of the co-op release. Windows
mm.
release seems a bit odd to me, but
Yeah, very, very much so.
still.
Um, it does feel very story driven, and I like that because, according to Wikipedia, players can interact with almost every NPC in the game, and dialogue choices will affect how things go, and every sort of outcome. There's according to gameplay, I've seen, there's a variety of outcomes to almost every situation in the game, which really does add a lot of stuff for replayability, because there's so much of it that's just so different depending on how you play it.
Yeah.
And I like that. It does feel a lot like Uncharted, just from the trailer we saw.
Yeah, it does a bit. I agree with that.
Yeah, so there's A Way Out, and also from indie games there was Skull and Bones, which looked very exciting.
That did look pretty good. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pirate games out right now, but
yeah,
I think it was just pretty cool.
Yeah, because just a day earlier they announced Sea of Thieves, and Sea of Thieves does not compare in the slightest to Skull and Bones.
Yeah.
Because Sea of Thieves just feels silly.
Yeah, does a bit.
Skull and Bones feels, refined and combat driven.
At the same time, Skull and Bones feels, quite cartoony and silly, but it's supposed to be. It's in the game design. It's another example of that would be TF2. That is supposed to be like that, but then if you compare that to like Paladins, like me, I just think it's silly in the fact that it's just so similar to other games of the same genre.
Yeah. I like the idea of this PvP pirate game because, Assassin's Creed Black Flag from Ubisoft, who are developing Skull and Bones, was the best pirate game ever. And, well, there aren't really many pirate games. And if I'm being honest, Skull and Bones just feels like they've taken everything good from Black Flag and just redone it. Which is nice. Because everyone loves Black Flag.
Very true. I mean, I've never played Black Flag, so
Yeah, it's piratey.
yeah, I know that much.
It's got a man named Edward the pirate.
Cool guy, Edward.
He goes around pirating things and stabbing people in the best crossover between.
Pirating things.
Yes.
Pirating.
Yeah.
That wasn't funny.
It wasn't. You need to stop, mate.
Yeah, I know. Don't worry. I'm on it.
Speaking of Assassin's Creed, nicely leading into another point, Assassin's Creed Origins, which I keep having to force myself not to call Assassin's Creed Oranges.
You were very excited for
I was, and it has a big snake in it, and that's really weird because you don't really see many big snakes in Assassin's Creed or real life.
Yeah.
But
I mean, not where we live anyway.
No. I like the idea that it's telling the story of the first assassins. Yeah.
Don't die. Come on.
I really like how it's telling the first assassins and how it all came to be. And we always thought that Assassin's Creed was like these big, like, legendary heroes who created the Assassin's Brotherhood, and it's actually essentially just the equivalent of a desert cop.
Yeah, pretty much.
Which, it's like the protagonist, whose name I can't remember, but it's probably Bashaverse or something.
Basha. Let's go. We'll go with Bashaverse.
Yeah. So Bashaverse and his eagle friend, which I believe is like I'm going to call it Caillou.
Caillou. Yeah, Caillou.
Bashaverse and Caillou.
Yep. That's their names, obviously, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So, look like interesting things, and the fact that Eagle Vision isn't just some mysterious superpower; it's just a mysterious ability to see through the eyes of an eagle, which is somehow weirder than having X-ray vision. But graphically, it looks very nice. But at the same time, when you compare it to Syndicate, it looks very samey to that, which...
Yeah, I mean, that's just the theme with the games nowadays, in my opinion. Like, if we take some of the new gameplay from Xbox One X, yeah, it looks great, but I think we just reached a point where new games aren't going to end up looking too different to the
and
games
developers are trying to convince us to be not satisfied with what looks like really good, so that they can claim that one more pixel is like a vast upgrade, and what we had before was like dirt.
Pretty much.
It's like they just want the money. It's like, you had the PS4, well, PS4 Pro only got like X amount of pixels more, but yeah, it'll make your PS4 regular look awful. You think you can live with a PS4? No, mate, you need a PS4 Pro. I don't have a PS4 Pro and I'm never buying one.
No, I don't see the point.
They're so loud.
That's coming back to stuff like that. That's why the Nintendo.
Yes, that's why Nintendo are winning, and
because Microsoft and Sony are like, yeah, we'll give you an upgraded version of the console you already have for an extra £500, and then Nintendo's like, yeah, we've already given you a whole new console. Now have some original games for that console, as well as lots of the games you already like.
Yeah, original games developed by Nintendo, who are already... Everyone grew up with Nintendo and know that Nintendo games are always quality.
Don't buy a Nintendo console unless you want to play Nintendo games.
Yeah.
Like all the Nintendo consoles I have, I at least have Nintendo games for, because they're the games that are worth playing more than anything else.
Yeah, there's no point in
Mario than play a port of another game that was designed for a PS4 or Xbox.
Yeah, and Nintendo do it so well. Like, that's the thing. Nintendo make really good Nintendo games for Nintendo consoles, essentially. And like, I think with the Wii U was a misstep where they thought they could just get away with not, if you know what I mean. Like, they thought, hey, we can just make third party games more good.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
Pretty much.
And now they're going back and realizing people buy Nintendo consoles for Mario, not for Zombie U or.
So I remember Zombie U now.
Which was so bad, they re-released it as an Xbox exclusive and claimed it never released on Wii U, calling it Zombie.
Just call it Zombie. It's like,
yeah, they claimed it was a new game. It was a port. But yeah, Nintendo won in like so many so many various things. They won at games, and the Switch, which I'm considering as a realistic competitor now. Like, I think it could be a very solid console, despite contradicting myself, having written an article called Bait and Switch, Why the Nintendo Switch is Doomed to Fail. But, you know, hypocrisy, it's alright.
Yeah, it's fine, don't worry.
I'm a mature person who can change his opinion when proved wrong. Yeah, Skyrim Switch is a misstep, Rabbids is a misstep, but Mario Odyssey is the weirdest thing you will ever see. Mario can throw his hat at real-life humans and possess them. And nothing else can compete with that. Because Mario possesses people now. And that's awesome. Because Um,
Come on.
I don't know. It's so strange. I can't find words for it
Well, there you go.
because he can possess objects, enemies, people. However, Mario Odyssey will cost £55. I think that's ridiculous. His hat is called Cappy. It's an odd step for Mario interacting and kidnapping humans.
Yeah.
Because, people looked at the first trailer for Mario Odyssey and thought, wow, that's really strange. Mario in the same world as humans? And then Nintendo just said, you know what? Mario in the same world as humans with a hat that can possess humans. And then I saw on Twitter someone was curious as to what is actually what started it. Is Mario actually just a hat possessing a plumber?
I mean, who knows? I think it's a strong theory, a very strong theory.
Mario is actually just Cappy pretending to be Mario.
Yes, very true.
Nintendo did also announce 2 new Metroid games, Metroid Prime 4, which is very exciting because Metroid Prime is very nice. And also Metroid Samus Returns on the 3DS, which plays, seemingly, like the old Metroid, like the Metroid games of old.
Hey.
Which is nice. Because we need more side-scrolling platform puzzle action games, because it's a dying genre. And everyone seems to be caring so much about all these new 3D and VR. It's nice to just have a flat 2D basic sort of game.
Yeah.
And I like that.
It's nice.
Yeah. I'm also a big fan of... I'm just describing things I'm a fan of.
Why not? Let's talk about E3. E3 things.
E3.
Yeah, let's get back to E3. Let's go over what happened. Let's go over what happened at E3. People, let's summarize the events.
Yes. I'm going to give 1-sentence summaries of each conference. So, E3 had E3 EA had Battlefront, Battlefield. I can't speak. Battlefront 2, Battlefield 1 DLC, and some other things. I can't remember. It feels like an eternity ago.
Alright, let's just go over the big events.
Xbox had a lot of games, 42 of them.
Yes, they did.
Sony seemingly didn't care.
No,
Sony released
PS4 Pro VR.
Yeah,
pretty fun.
They released one thing that anyone cared. Oh no, 2. Spider-Man PS4 looks lovely.
You cannot forget Spider-Man.
That looks really nice. I really like how it seems very much like Spider-Man 2, the game, in 2000 and whenever, which was lovely. I loved Spider-Man 2. It was a brilliant game. And also from Sony, there was Shadow of the Colossus remake, which is good, because Shadow of the Colossus is like an iconic game that is like one of the best received games in history. And this recent trend of remastered and remade games, I personally don't like, because I think you should leave a classic as it was.
Yeah.
Like Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, I don't think that needed to happen. Final Fantasy VII Remastered, which has been delayed by like 3 years, I don't agree with. I don't think it needs to exist. But yeah, on the whole, I feel Xbox won E3 because they announced Life is Strange before the storm.
They did.
Yeah, which is good because I love Life is Strange. To the people listening at home, if this feels really weird listening to this podcast, it's because we've literally recorded this in its entirety once before.
Yep. We have.
And are having to re-record it now, and I don't think either of us particularly want to.
We don't.
Because it's effort.
Yeah, but it's fine. It's fine.
I have 2 sets of headphones on right now. One with the audio of this podcast, and the other playing the Ghostbusters theme.
I didn't expect that. I thought it would be something else. I thought you were listening to like the last one and just trying to go over the exact same points.
Oh god, that would be so trippy. Listening to myself to remind myself what I said. Yeah. Any points you want to talk about that you've got? Any good?
Well, I'll go over some things in E3 that we haven't really covered that much of.
Yes.
We haven't mentioned already. So there was some. There was the Bethesda press conference that had some new VR stuff for like 4 VR, and there was another VR game as well.
Doom VFR.
Yes,
what the F stands for, God knows what.
Fun. The F stands for fun. I'm sure.
Doom Virtual Fun Reality.
Yeah, that's what it stands for. Fun reality. And we also had Destiny 2. We had some stuff on about that. I'll just go over the games that we talked about if you want to research what happened or.
I can quickly Google them.
Yeah, then go ahead. I'm just looking at the schedule and things. We had The Crew 2. We had the announcement of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds coming to console. I think on the
coming to Xbox One X exclusive.
Exclusive player, and as well as that, I think there were some updates to it as well that would be hitting.
Yeah, I feel in retrospect how Xbox and Microsoft handled their press conference probably wasn't great. Purely because they just bombarded everyone with 42 games.
Yeah, and as well as that. No, wait. I'm thinking of the wrong thing. Carry on, sorry.
I feel like that was far too many games they announced at once. They also announced one thing that a lot of people seem to forget is the Xbox backwards compatibility for like the 2 games that anyone cares about on Xbox. For the original Xbox. Which, I don't know how that would work, considering PS4 doesn't even have PS3 backwards compatibility yet, and they're the same damn disc format. They're both Blu-ray discs.
No, they
Why?
PS2 is DVD.
Are they not? PS3?
PS1 was CD. Oh, were you talking about PS4 and PS3?
Yeah, they don't have PS3 backwards compatibility yet.
They both use Blu-ray, and then it's like, nah.
Yeah, they both use Blu-ray, and they're not that different. You can digitally use any of the games. So why? Why can they not do it? Actually, I was expecting Sony to announce backwards compatibility.
Yeah, so was I.
They just didn't because.
Yeah, they're like, nah.
Yeah, don't want to seem too similar to making good games.
Why would you want to remind ourselves of the games we made before that were actually really good? Why would we want to do that? You know.
Yeah, it's like. What? We have so many quality first-party titles coming in the next few months, such as indie games.
Indie games. Although there are some indie games. Even I'm excited for. For example, Battalion 1944, which wasn't talked about at E3, but there's a beta for that coming out soon.
I don't even know if they were at E3.
They were. Well, obviously they weren't.
Well, maybe they were.
I doubt they would have been at E3.
They were. They actually were.
Really?
Because it was what are they called? It's not Konami, but they got a red logo like Konami.
They have a red logo. Nice.
Oh, God. I know Resident Evil.
I still cannot remember.
I can't remember. But
It doesn't matter. It's fine.
Yeah. where they announced a title that I believe we saw briefly there. COD, well, Square, no,
It just
Square Enix Indie, whatever.
stop trying, please.
Um,
Please stop.
yeah, they announced that they're making a fishing VR game from Final Fantasy.
A fishing VR game.
Oh yeah. It's just the fishing segments of Final Fantasy 15
Boy, that
in
sounds
VR.
fun.
I think it's called Final Fantasy 15 Monster Catch because they couldn't say Monster Hunter because Monster Hunter is coming to consoles, PC, and not 3DS, which
I
is
like
sad.
what you did there. You know, kept the
Momentum.
transition and smooth and the momentum going. Yeah, yeah.
I do
That's
not
good.
think Nintendo want the 3DS to continue existing
They
because,
probably don't. It's been around for ages now. It's time
but
to
they've just
give it
dropped a
up.
new one, which is a shame.
Yeah, but still.
Mm, um, so EA announced they're making EA Access free for a week because they donated a small loan of
Yeah.
$1 million
Okay. Right.
to
I want
charity.
to talk about this actually.
Mm,
What's going on with EA right now? First they do. At first they give EA Access games to people for free.
yeah, for a week.
For a week. Yeah. And then they're like, oh yeah, Star Wars Battlefront 2, remember that game we were just talking about? Oh yeah, we're not going to make you pay for any of the DLC.
I personally still feel there will be paid DLC,
I'm just...
but I
It's
don't
so
think it will
sketchy.
be. I think there will be paid DLC, but I think there's something that we didn't pick up on in reading between the lines of how they worded their thing, because they did say that they didn't actually say all DLC will be free. They said all characters, maps, and weapons will be free.
Hmm.
If they're having a now, that does not rule out them doing some really shady thing, like just making the last mission of the campaign paid DLC or something like that, which I wouldn't put past EA
Mm-hmm.
because they've done it before. Yeah, just they've done it before.
Yeah, go for it.
Um, I hope it's free.
Yeah, that'd be great. But still, I'm I'm not entirely convinced. It seems a bit sketchy to me.
Yeah,
But
yeah. You you can't trust EA really.
no, don't trust EA, kids.
The people who made FIFA
Oh,
and
the
with
people,
£79.99 in-app purchases.
people who
Oh,
made FIFA. Oh no
yeah.
no no.
And also Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes with the
Star
Holy Friends.
Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Do you remember the announcement? Oh, the announcement was brilliant. I'm sorry.
What were they even talking about for that? They were just showing it off. They were
This is just
advertising it.
these are just memes that we have. We had a
Yeah.
good time watching the announcement.
Yeah,
For that.
yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
I think E3 may just stand for Extra Laughter 3. And there's an extra L in there for good measure. The L wasn't there originally. I added it. But yeah, that Spider-Man game has... The most exciting thing about it is they've added the ability to web swing from buildings. Which is such a basic thing. They should have added in every Spider-Man game since Spider-Man 3, but somehow thought it was a tiny bit of an oversight to add realistic web swinging in a game where web swinging is kind of one of the key features.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, but still, the web swinging has improved since the days of the first Spider-Man game, where you could web swing on literally anything.
Well, yeah, technically, since Spider-Man 2, every Spider-Man game has just allowed you to web swing from the sky.
Yeah.
I like the fact that the new Spider-Man game is an original story. I don't like that. Well, I like the fact it's taking it's not feeling constrained to either the lore of the comics or the lore of previous games or the lore of any of the infinite number of Spider-Man movies and remakes. Because, you know, you make a game telling the story of one actor as Spider-Man, and then by tomorrow there's been 3 more actors, and now Spider-Man is played by a black 4-year-old from Chicago. Because that's what Marvel do. And Aunt May is a 10-year-old. Because Spider-Man. And also Spider-Man is owned by the BBC.
Can you imagine that? Spider-Man owned by the BBC.
Yeah. And now on BBC One, The Amazing Spider-Man. And it just plays the Coronation Street thing.
No, it's like almost, I don't know, just like a really British news thing. You know, when they really talk in a really boring way. And now on BBC Two.
Oh my god,
Spider-Man.
BBC 4 Spider-Man would be the best thing ever.
Can you imagine BBC Radio 4 Spider-Man? It's like,
yes!
now on BBC Radio 4, The Amazing Spider-Man.
You're the best BBC Radio 4 voice I've ever heard.
Well, you know, I unfortunately have had to spend a lot of time listening to that because my parents are old.
Well, E3, the least British thing possible.
Yeah, because people actually care about it, and it's on a big scale, and it's like, wow.
Yeah, and also the majority of people who watch E3 live streams probably have never heard of BBC Radio 4.
No, or the BBC. Or
BBC America
or the
is
UK.
big. Or England.
Speaking of nations, actually.
Yes.
At the time of recording, you know, obviously, I will be editing this and uploading the day after recording. But at the time of recording, Canada and USA are set to face off in Overwatch in a few hours at the Twitch esports arena. So that should be exciting, since the Overwatch World Cup group stages, I think they start in July. They're doing it in a much better format today to what they did last time, which is good. You know, hopefully the UK should win more than one game, and everyone might actually turn up this time, which will be good. It's hype.
Yeah, it does seem interesting because esports.
I like them. Yeah, and they're growing. And speaking of that, actually, if we go back to Battlefield 1,
Battlefield
announced with
mode.
In the Name of the Tsar. Battlefield already had an esports team at all. Yeah, it wasn't that big.
And then it just died completely with this.
It died completely when, you know, Battlefield Hardline. No, what's Battlefield Hardline? No one's heard that name.
I forgot Battlefield Hardline existed until just then.
Yeah, I think I was looking on PlayStation Store one time, and I saw Battlefield Hardline, and I was like, oh yeah, that game.
That was a thing.
That was a thing. I remember I used to think that was really cool when it was announced.
I can't even remember what it does.
And, you know, it's never come back into my head since that moment. But, yeah, Battlefield did have an esports scene. And there were actually LAN tournaments, even though the scene was quite small. And, you know, that's pretty cool. So maybe stuff like that could be coming to Battlefield 1. You know, Battlefield 1 is a very, very popular game. So it will be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. I hope that it gets back to esports, because esports doesn't change very often. And like Overwatch was the last big sort of Overwatch, and I guess Splatoon were the last things that sort of blew up in the Overwatch esports, esports community. And yeah,
I mean, I feel like the scene's getting better, but at the same time, it's not. Like, we finally had the addition of a new FPS game into the scene, which is Overwatch, but that's still struggling. You know, in the scene at the moment. Like my article about the state of the esports scene, I mentioned how a lot of teams were actually disbanding their Overwatch rosters because, you know, there's no lands on for a while right now. There have been a few, but they haven't, you know, been for every single team. And the best tournaments are all the way over in Korea, where there's only like, you know, I think only 2 Western teams actually went to this one, and there's only 1 still there. So, you know,
and also there's rampant sexism in games in Korea, bizarrely enough.
There is, yeah. But
like massively.
That is, yeah, that's the thing.
And that's a thing that shouldn't be a thing.
I agree. We have gone off on a tangent, actually. Remember, this is an E3 show, but regardless, it's an issue. That is a big issue.
Yeah. I feel like because this has gone on such a tangent, I feel it will reboot the actual Proper Geekbot podcast. I hope.
Probably.
Because, you know, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing, yeah. It's been over a year since the last episode. Been about a year and a week.
We should do a podcast on July 28th, the Geekpop birthday.
We should, yes. We'll do that. We'll get the whole gang.
Yeah, all of the main...
Everyone who answers the invite on Discord.
Which will be like us.
Will be us too.
You can join the 2 of us again.
And maybe the kid who is sometimes here and unironically plays Paladins, otherwise known as Zero Annie.
Gotta love a bit of Zero Annie.
Yeah, obviously.
Who today spent the whole day playing Metal Gear Solid 5 on his laptop, and it lagged so badly that it was horrible, and I wanted to snatch his laptop away, which, for the record, his laptop is like 2011 released, and it can't run Overwatch, but he was playing Metal Gear Solid 5 on it.
Yeah.
And it seemingly melted. Well, 2 of the keys on it stopped working because it got so hot.
I don't get why I do that. He also tried playing Fallout 4 on it and downloading mods.
Yeah, his Skyrim is so modded that it's like unplayable.
Yep.
He's got like God mode vampire stuff going on. It's not needed. His Skyrim is the equivalent of a roadman with the amount of just unnecessary equipment.
Unnecessary equipment.
Just confront a roadman in the street. Good sir, I'd noticed you're carrying a large number of unnecessary equipment.
I mean, what even is a trusty shank? You don't need this.
I doubt your tiny Adidas bag can hold all your equipment.
Let me take your snapback and let me take your cap for you, good sir.
Imagine if Roadman just had, like, little bagmen following around.
Bagmen?
Jeeves, take my machete.
Can you imagine if they had, like, actual different types of hat, like roadmen in like a bowler hat?
Just a roadman butler carrying a hat stand.
Or, like, they have everything else, and then they just have a bowler hat.
Yes. Chauffeuring the roadman around in a Vauxhall Corsa. Whilst wearing a suit. A tracksuit. This is an E3 show. We're talking about roadmen.
yeah,
We've gone so far off
we went
tangent
from
that we've left the gaming topic we were talking about, and then we've left gaming, and now we're not even talking about the content of our own website. For the record, in case anyone was wondering, the song I'm currently listening to with my background headphones is a mashup between, and I'm going to ask Josh, that's you, to edit in I'm linking it now in chat. If you can edit in, just briefly, a quick segment of it, that'll be real good.
A quick segment of this when?
Just now, when I've said it, like now.
Sure thing.
Preferably featuring the anime and the Fresh Prince parts.
That's probably my favourite part of the video.
Yeah, we'll get done for copyright. I wanted to say arrested for copyright, but I don't think anyone gets arrested for putting Everybody's Circulation by TMA Bird in the background of SoundCloud up.
I don't think TMA Bird would really take it that far, you know?
No, considering the version I linked you is a re-upload anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, that was our podcast about E3.
E3 once. I think we mentioned E3 at least once.
We mentioned E3 a couple of times.
Yeah. That was our E3 podcast.
Yeah. Good enough.
But if you want something that's definitely always on topic and that there's a variety of it, that you can pick whatever you want, try Crunchyroll for anime.
Weeb.
Because Crunchyroll, unlike us, allows you to go on a big tangent. You watch one show, then you go to the next show, and the next show, and the next show, and it's really cool. And if you go to our site, you can find a link where you can get a free 2-week trial of Crunchyroll Premium, which means you can watch in ad-free, glorious HD stuff. Furthermore, we also like Loot Crate too. You can get yourself a cheeky Loot Crate with like 10% off from our site too. I sound like I'm shilling my Amazon store. Mm-hmm. But I have been Discordia, and I have been joined by Joshtie.
You have.
And
you will now no longer be.
You will no longer be joined by us because you'll be clicking off of this podcast audio file video.
Haven't done already.
If you're still here, congratulations. Have a cookie.
7 minutes 59 seconds ago, when we actually started.
How long do we start ago?
About 48 minutes ago now.
Nice. Let's bring it up to 50. Let's waffle for 2 more minutes.
Just do a really long outro.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. You can check out more content from us on our YouTube channel, which is completely non-serious, and we're planning to upload at least one more video next month.
Wait, hang on. I know how to sign this off.
Go on.
Wait, I need to get myself in the zone. I need to try and stop laughing before
I'm ready for you, my boy.
Next up on BBC4 is the... no one's gonna find this funny. No one's gonna find this funny except us.
Make everything go. I can hear the voice, but I don't wanna listen. Shut me down and tell me I'll be Come here, little kitties, on my lap. Guess who's back with a brand new rap? And I don't